If you skip this game, you are a fool. Trails in the Sky third chapter is a bit controversial, shall we say. It's got very, very mixed reviews and mixed opinions about it. Some people think it's the worst game in the franchise and that you can skip it, or that it's just the black sheep of the franchise. And while I will admit, it is definitely a very different game to, well, everything that comes before and after it, in my opinion, it might be the best the franchise has to offer. At least from the ones I've played so far. Being the Sky Trilogy and Cold Steel's 1 and 2. First of all, the change to the gameplay experience, the overall gameplay loop from exploring, a country, going around doing odd jobs to this centralized hub without any of the side quests where you just are going through a dungeon. It was refreshing. It felt different. And with all the doors and all the side things you can do, it didn't feel like it was any less story-rich and content-rich as the other games were. It was still very, very fulfilling of an experience as the other games have been. And at the same time, had that refreshing, oh, this is different, this is new. And I quite enjoyed that. And especially with the fact that you get to use so many different characters, a handful of which you never really would have used before. For example, like Julia, Mueller, some spoilers here for the game, of course. Renee, or Ren, I don't care. I think it should be Renee, but it said Ren, so here we are. Richard, and of course we have Reese. Again, I don't know how you say her name. Who is obviously a brand new character for this game. And of course we have the focus on our main character for this one, which is again very different, in Kevin Graham. Who, again, I'm going to say something maybe not quite as controversial, but maybe it is. I think Kevin might be the best protagonist the franchise has so far. Obviously, I've still yet to fully experience the Cold Steel arc, and I've only just started the Crossbell arc. But I think Kevin, in a single game, has managed to blow me away and impress me to the point where I think he's the best protagonist the series has. Obviously, Estelle is fantastic, and I do, enjoy Reen. But I think, in terms of how compelling they are, Kevin's my favorite. And it only took one game. Genuinely, Third does a really good job of getting you invested in Kevin and Reese. Even though, again, Reese only has one game, right? This is her only game. And she's not even the focus of it, and yet she's established well enough that you can understand her character and where she's coming from. It's really quite well done. I really, really enjoyed it. The descent through Phantasma, through each of the planes, we, explore all these areas we've been to, get introduced to these characters we've seen, and the mystery surrounding who the Lord of Phantasm is, and Kevin as a character in his grief, what has led him to, live the life that he'd led. It was fantastic. It was all just really, really good stuff. And again, speaking of the doors, such a good mechanic, such a really interesting idea, fleshing out characters that we maybe didn't have as much time to. I do think some of them do get left behind. Zin being a prime example of that, being as the doors he's in tend to be focused on other characters and less so himself. And I'm sure that he'll be explored in later games, but Zin does feel like he gets the short end of the stick. But other characters getting fleshed out more through these doors, set up for future arcs being established is fantastic. With Olivier and fucking Chancellor Osborne in that one door. It's great stuff. And obviously, Star Door 14 with Ouroboros, the Phantasmal Blaze plan, something I still have only heard in name, but kind of know the end stages of because of Cold Steel 1 and 2. Really, really good stuff. I really, really enjoyed Sky Third. I don't think I have as much to say about the game as I do previous ones, simply because, other than Kevin's journey, there is less core story to this game, and I don't really want to spoil it, because I think this game's story aspects are probably its greatest strength, with every door having something that you will enjoy to differing degrees. What I really enjoyed, actually, one of my favourite doors, personally, was the door about the Salt Pail. I found that really interesting. I thought that was really cool, especially like the little dossier at the end about Wiseman, or the redacted name, we know it's Wiseman, who Kevin kills at the end of second. Spoilers, by the way. Yeah, you should expect this. I did say spoilers earlier on, so that's on you. And also, I did talk about it in my Sky's second video, which you can, there'll be a card in the top right to go watch that if you want to go check that out. To hear my thoughts on Sky's second chapter. But yeah, this isn't going to be a very long video, but I really enjoyed Sky third chapter. Gameplay-wise as well, I think it was the most fun. In all honesty, I think playing it was the most fun. And maybe that's just due to the substantial increase in power of everybody can have, absurdly strong quartz. Your characters are all a hell of a lot stronger than they are in, say, second and obviously from first. So I feel like, just to the power level, it makes combat feel more exciting. But again, I do think even like the late game stages where you're on a relatively comparable level to the enemies, it was a lot of fun. Overall, I do think the game was not quite as hard as I was expecting, but I'd heard it was, the hardest game in the franchise. But maybe I could have played it on high difficulty and then I would have seen it. Speaking of which, I'm playing Zero on Nightmare, and oh my god, have I, yeah, it's already a step up. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. That'll probably be a while before that video comes out. Anyway, with that out of the way, actually, there's one last thing I will say on third. I wish it was longer. It's the game I've spent the least time playing. I don't think I even broke 40 hours on it. Sky first and second comfortably broke 40 hours. Corso 1 and 2, I've got about 80 hours in each. And then there's third, where I barely broke 30. That's probably the only demerit. Only thing I can say about the game that's negative. I wish it was longer. Yeah, all around, really good game. And with that out of the way, I've been Elsie, you've been you, and I'll reiterate again, if you skip Trails in the Sky third chapter, you're a fool. Ta-ta, bye now.